Hi guys, I'm Regina. I'm one of the co-founders of Truth Library. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm a vegan chef in my spare time. And yeah, what about you, Opo?
I am Ofu. I'm a general manager slash social media person for this Black-owned grocery stores. Like I take pictures and really anything else that they ask of me. So yeah, that's about me. And then I guess I'll choose our book. So our pick for this month, which is coming to an end, is All About Love by Bell Hooks. And then I didn't highlight at first. I was doing sticky notes, but I highlighted. And I feel like it. I don't know. I feel like it adds a little bit of je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. You feel like, way more accomplished with yeah.
But this definitely is a book that I honestly. What did you think it would be about? Like when you first,
When I first just heard people talk about the book and rave about it, I just thought it was about romantic love. And not that I wanted to read about that, but people loved it so much that I was like, okay, maybe this book has something that I need to know. So I was super surprised to pick it up and hear Bell Hooks talk about love from such a philosophical perspective almost, where yes, she gets into topics that have to do with romantic relationships, but it's just not that love idea that I thought it would be, if that makes sense. So yeah.
I feel like she goes into it, but how it's basically I feel like all we think about when we think of love is like that heteronormative, like you have one person and that, like our entire concept of love. Like if you were looking for a love movie right now on anything, like any TV show, any movie, it would be like, all right, boy meets girl, they fall in love.
Exactly.
Story, happily ever after. That's all you ever need to know.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like in real life, that's not how life operates at all. I feel like my life can be full of love, dating someone or not. So that's kind of where I am with, I guess, starting with the book.
Yeah, and more than anything, she makes you, or she made me recognize love in other forms other than just that boy meets girl type of, oh, you gotta fall in love with someone type of idea. She made me realize how much I love my work. She made me think about love in childhood life and stuff like that too. So it was just really cool to walk with Bell Hooks through her thoughts. That's how I felt reading the book. She's really thinking and putting it on paper. And that's what I loved. It seemed so, yeah.
What it felt like, it didn't even feel like learning. It felt like things that I already knew.
Yes.
Being spelled out for me.
Yes. That things that you needed spelled out for you, honestly.
Yeah. But there were things that I'm like, you're so right, but also things that I'm like, I think that you're right because I feel like I've also been thinking these things, but I've never been able to express them in certain ways.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, and she her writing is just so, for some reason, and I love it for this reason. It seems so authentic and raw almost. It doesn't seem like she was sitting there trying to think of the best way to put. I feel like it was very conversational. Yeah, is what I'm trying to say, and I love that about it. But yeah,
anyone this book and you're going to learn something about yourself or just the society, just because of she doesn't try to put it over everyone's head. She's something that we all experience. So we're all just going to talk about it. So into the questions, I will start with pull up the first question here.
Do you want me to read the first one?
Yeah, you can read the first one.
All right. So the first question is, Bell Hooks states that we do not have to love, but rather we choose love. And I kind of wanted to know if you and any viewers agree with that, and what part of love from what you've learned or what you've digested from the book is a choice.
Yeah, so I think I do agree with that. I think that, like, that's also like why I don't believe like people really fall. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to say it's like, oh yeah, I fell in love. When it's like, no, like you made the choice and you're doing certain actions and you're like making the choice to love this person every day.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I mean, I guess I'm talking about romantic love now, but I mean, like, in general things, like let's say friendships, it's like you're making the choice whether or not to reach out. You're making the choice whether or not to be like, oh, happy birthday, like, how are you feeling?
Yes.
The choice that you're making
Yeah, I
that
agree.
validate the love that you have for a person, but it isn't as simple as it's just like, oh, I see you and now I'm in love with you.
Yes, I agree. I do. Reading this book made me realize that I do not believe in a such thing as love at first sight. Especially when she talks about catharsis, or is that I might not be pronouncing it right, but basically towards the beginning she talks about like this the feeling that you get that we call being in love with someone that's not love. That's just a feeling of us associating meaning to a person, if that makes sense. And that's what that reminded me of. So going back like to the choice, it's like you choose, like even the parent child relationship, it might seem really messed up to say, but parents choose every morning to wake up and tend to their child. And you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So yeah, so I definitely agree with you and Bell Hooks that it's a choice that
yeah.
to we choose to do loving actions at the bare minimum, um,
And then I
because
think
yeah,
when I watch TVs, like I watch Married at First Sight, and so you'll have couples who like they've never seen each other, but they get married, and some of them will fall in love like instantly or whatever that is.
yeah,
But I feel like even with that, I don't see that as like love at first sight. I see that more as like they've made this commitment to love each other.
mm-hmm.
Like they have to go ahead and then nurture that love every day.
Yeah,
And like you can kind of see it in like a much more sped up way.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
But easy to take that as a like, oh, it's just like this perfect story because a lot of times it doesn't end up that way. A lot of times it ends up in disaster.
yes. Are you talking about the show with Cam and Lauren?
Oh, I also no. So okay, so there's two of them. So
Okay.
I did watch Love Is Blind, yes, but
Yes.
I also watched Married at First Sight.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Oh, okay, with Cameron and Lauren, honestly, I feel like with that one, it's like it wasn't. They never saw each other, but it was like they were talking, and they were already like they already seemed to just be in that place where they wanted that commitment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that for me, once again, is like that for me like, is a choice.
Yep.
And I feel like if you look at Cameron and Lauren as individuals, like I feel like Lauren would never enter into anything that's like not kind of curated and kind of planned out.
Yep. Exactly. Lauren, she seems like a very strategic person almost.
Yeah, or like
So,
you
that's that.
remember Cameron's house?
Yeah.
Because Cameron bought the house because he wanted like a family. So
It's
it's
like
like
boys.
they're all
They
yeah,
they all made choices that ended up with them being in the situation they're in.
yeah. And then I even think of like the problem, like I mean, not that, and the thing is, I feel like these things can still be remarkable. I
Mm-hmm.
when you break it down, people are like, oh, like well, that isn't very romantic or whatever. But I feel like it is romantic, and it still is remarkable in the way that it's like, what are the odds they'd both be on the TV show?
Yep.
Like, what are the odds they would connect?
Yep.
Like, I think there can be strategy in your love, or
Mm-hmm.
who you choose to love. Like, there can be strategy in that can still be like magical, that can still be romantic.
Even think about the way that like the average person goes about like maybe if you're at the bar and you try to like talk to someone that you find attractive, all of that's a choice. All of that is kind of planned in a way and a conscious decision to make. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
So for our second question, that was good. So
Yeah.
it says, according to Bell Hook's definition of love, she asserts that a lot of us who thought we grew up in loving homes actually did not. Did this chapter make you revise your childhood? And if so, what did you learn about your own childhood?
Yeah, definitely made me like revisit my like relationship with my parents and just like the type of home that I grew up in. It made me both it now, with that being said, Bell Hooks from in the first chapter redefined what love is. You know what I mean? Like, she starts off the book by saying, okay, we have to define this first before we talk about it. And by definition, I wish I had the definition in front of me. But her definition means that a lot of people might realize, hey, hello, I see your wave. but it made me realize that a lot of us, or just people in general, while they might have been like very cared for and well fed and well clothed, and somebody was there to make sure they did their homework every night, and all those things like don't necessarily equate to love.
Yeah, and actually I think I have a definition. I can probably pull that up right now.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so
he basically says, like, when you see love as the will to nurture one's own or another's spiritual growth revealed through acts of care, respect, knowing, and assuming responsibility, the foundation of all love in our life is the same. So when I think of that, and when I put my child in that perspective, I'm like, I definitely had like the acts of care, but sometimes I feel like I love my parents, but sometimes when it comes to like assuming responsibility, like, I don't know about your parents, but my parents were never ones to really like apologize.
Even, not mine at all. Same.
Yeah, like even if they knew they had messed up in a certain way, like you weren't getting an apology.
Nope. My mom would just like come and like talk to me like everything was normal. Like that was an apology.
Are you hungry? It's like, no, but yes, I'm hungry. Like, I'm not gonna, never talk to you again. Like, I love you, but at the same time, it's like, why can't you admit that you're wrong? Like, I have to say that I'm sorry, but you never have to say that you're sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and like growing up now, being an adult, you start to realize these things and say like, hey, that was kind of messed up. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, as a kid, like I was well like cared for, and I wasn't I'm grateful that I can say I wasn't really lacking in much of like material things, but I wasn't a kid that got a lot of like hugs. You know what I mean? So it was that type of thing where it was just that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I so get you, honestly. And I honestly was not a very big huggy person. Like now I'm much more like, now it's like COVID time, so like I want to now.
Yeah, you want to. Okay.
Yeah, but like before, I think that like I would say like, the amount of affection like other kids got from their parents, and I'm like, that's so weird. Like, how are you guys so close?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, well, why? Like, and then I think that I was saying it, I was judging them because like I really just didn't get that. But like it gets to have like that closeness that I feel like I never really got.
Yeah, I never yes. But so then you question yourself like, wow, like okay, like in at least my like or Bell Hooks' definition of love, like I guess like affection might be part of that, but so you question your parents, like did my parents actually love me? Not according to Bell Hooks, like you know what I mean? Like,
they're really obligated to take care of me because like also like I think about the fact that it's like for like a lot of like old generations, it's what you were supposed to do. You're supposed to get married. You're supposed to have kids. So it was never really a choice. And then weirdly, so I was actually watching. I happened to be on Facebook because I was doing some like stuff for work, and I'm scrolling and like I see this video of like this guy like beating his kids. And this other person replied to
that recent video that went viral of him spanking the kid like in public somewhere.
So many, I saw it on Twitter too, but so many people were like, yes, like this is the way you're supposed to discipline kids. This is the way you're supposed to treat them, to like, keep them in line. And in my mind, I'm like, well, what are you teaching the kids? Because when I look at this, the parent is the one that has lost control.
Yes.
You expect children to remain composed and not to lose control. when this grown adult can't even handle what was a 3-year-old.
A 3-year-old.
And people have the capacity to be like, oh, I was hit and I turned out fine. When it's like, but you didn't. You think it's okay to hit kids.
You didn't turn out fine because you think it's okay to hit your kids. So
is that what fine is for you? That's not what it is for me. I feel like that's not.
And Bell Hooks directly talks about that, like how hitting physical harm in any form is not love. If you can inflict like harm on a child or anybody, like you would get like, you know how like it would be domestic violence or it would be assault for you to hit another adult the way that man hit his son or his daughter in the video.
If that was a video of a man hitting his wife,
mm-hmm.
and he called that discipline, like, could you imagine? Like, that's not.
He would be in jail. Everybody would be reposting it, trying to get him arrested.
Yeah, but I'm saying false, but then other people are like, yeah, like let's do some more of this.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah. So what was the question we were answering again?
Basically, like
childhood, yeah.
Like revise your childhood, and I think it definitely did.
Yeah, definitely did, 100%. But at the same time, the book made me like realize that more than ever that like, yeah, my mom gave birth to me, but like she did not have to care for me. Like it was a choice. It was a conscious choice.
Yeah. And I feel like I also, like, as I've grown up, I've seen my parents as more as humans rather than like these beings,
idols, than these like just
like some like ethereal things. Like I'm now like, oh, like they were just humans.
Yeah, they're just
humans, like not like I am.
Yeah. All right, that was great.
Okay. So
number 3 is a quote: "As a culture, we are obsessed with the notion of safety." Where and she was posing us in regards to love and how love is a risk, and that made me wonder, like, well, what do you guys and other people reading this book, where in love does it prevent the largest risk? Like, what is the risk in showing love and loving someone, whether in a romantic sense or in a parent-child relationship, in a friend, sibling, whatever type of relationship? What's the risk in love?
I feel like with everything, it's just a matter of being vulnerable. Like, second that you show love is also something that someone could immediately.
Yeah.
That we all, like, we hate the feeling of being rejected. Like, we hate being told no.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's something so personal, it's like, it hurts you. And like, why?
Yeah, I feel like I agree with that. Love itself is putting yourself in a vulnerable state to another person, and I don't mean vulnerable to mean like physically vulnerable, but just like emotionally vulnerable, mentally vulnerable. A lot of times, no matter the type of love, you are developing an attachment to this person that you're loving, and a lot of times I think losing out on that attachment that you build is the biggest risk in love.
Yeah, and I mean, I think she actually goes into like the death chapter, mm-hmm. where we're also talking about the fact that it's like, yeah, that's kind of the crappy thing about life, is that everyone who you
die at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
If you've ever lost someone, you know how painful that is.
Exactly. So yeah, so I think that's the biggest risk in love, especially like in this weird physical life that we live in, that people don't live forever. So yeah, the death chapter was really cool, to say the least. Semi uncomfortable for me for some reason. Like, it was kind of unsettling, but at the same time, it's like, damn, she's right. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think about the fact that, okay, yes, it sucks that we don't live forever, but also I'm like, I don't know if we would want to. Like, I think that it does give our lives a little bit more meaning, the fact that we don't have unlimited time.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, the last time I see you could be my last time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'm going to treat you like it's my last time. And even the book talks about how like you're supposed to treat people like it's the last time you'll see them.
Wow. Wow, yeah, that's so true. And it would make it like, you know how like you might lay in bed all day and be like, dang it, I missed out on a whole day of like doing stuff that I could have done. Like that's what makes life so precious, and us not living forever is what makes time so precious, and seeing people like, possibly seeing people for the last time makes you just want to love as hard as possible.
Definitely. And I feel like what if people took that like in their everyday lives, like actually thought about the fact that it's like that it's okay, even if you don't change the world or whatever, like you can change the world that like your community around you by treating everyone like you're like literally like you're gonna lose them one day. Because
Yeah.
one day.
Yeah.
So
Look
it's
at
like holding people close and holding people dear, like that's I feel like going to not only fill your cup, but it's gonna fill theirs too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. I was thinking about, this has nothing to do with the book, but this relates to like this thing I was reading about just living, being love, being love yourself, and just always showing people and everyone that you meet that grace and love, because when you are loved, that is all people see within you, and just tying that in here because it's like, wow, it's,
Oh,
yeah.
all right, let's go into so the fourth question is in chapter 6, Bell Hooks writes, into a love ethic transforms our lives by offering us a different set of values to live by. What does it mean to you to live by a love ethic?
um I think to live by a love ethic means to kind of, I hate to say the same thing over, but to be love, but to show love in all of your actions and the things that you do, to choose love regardless of who you are showing it to. I think that's what it means to live by a love ethic. What about you?
Yeah, I think that for me it means like sometimes it means choosing myself.
Exactly, but yes, but that's love.
Yeah, like I'm going to choose to love myself.
Mm-hmm.
Doing that, like that's going to make me a happier person, which allows me to then spread that to other people.
Yeah.
And then for me, it also means that it's like not everything I do I'm going to necessarily do for like monetary gain or like material gain. Because I think that like right now we're in like this really weird, I guess, time where everything is like, how can you make money with your favorite hobby? And it's like,
Yes.
people need hobbies they don't have to make money from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can people have fun? Like, does everything have to be capitalized? Like,
Yes.
because,
Yes. Does everything have to? I agree. I think that money is something that a lot of times will get in the way of living by a love ethic. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of times people are, I can't blame people in a capitalist society for being capitalist. You know what I mean?
I know, of course not.
So,
I
so
want my
yeah, me too. So like, I can't blame people for always looking for a dollar, but a lot of times that blinds you from living by a love ethic and showing people love.
No, I agree. I feel like when I look at like Jeff Bezos, and I think of the idea that it's like
Perfect example.
that it's someone who could end world hunger, and then you just choose like not to, like that's kind of a choice. Like that man either does not love himself or the world because
I don't. Yeah.
you have enough money to sustain like your kids. Like it's getting a little crazy now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Like his,
like
his does he have kids? I don't know,
oh,
but
I
but his like family tree is good for decades upon decades upon decades.
yeah.
I can't even fathom. Like, what do you do with that much money? Does it just sit in a bank account? Like, do you have it hiding somewhere? Like, we all know you're making it, so like, where is it going? But like, I can't fathom Jeff Bezos' money. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It gets to the point where it's like I think that I forget what it's called, but it's basically the concept that it's like the more money you have, kind of the more money you want.
yes, yes, Because
you know people who it's like you would call them rich, but then they're like, oh yes, I only have one boat, not two, and you're over here like, I don't even have a car.
Yeah, I don't have a car. I walk to work every day, so
it's like different levels to this. But it's like because you're always comparing yourself to other people, you can't even be happy with what you have.
nope. And also I think things like that, like what you're describing, I wouldn't call jealousy, but those are all things like that, and jealousy are all things that get in the way of that love ethic that blinds you from leading a life of love, of giving love. I think giving love, a lot of times people forget about how important that is, rather than just receiving a lot of times, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I think we've all experienced where it's like, I mean, like, I don't really love these videos, like people like feeding the homeless. I kind of want to like give them some privacy.
Yes.
But I think that a lot of times, like when I look at those things, I'm like, okay, but you know, a lot of this is for the person giving.
Mm-hmm.
Like in
for the person giving the post, like
he needs a home. He doesn't need a pair of Jordans. Like, yes, it's nice that you gave it to him, but like,
but
it's for you to make you better. And I think a lot of times, like, you can think of it as a selfish way, but like, yeah, giving does make you feel better.
yeah, it does. A lot of, yeah, I agree, definitely. So yeah.
Number five.
All right. Bell Hooks argues that when the foundational love in our life is the same, there is no special love exclusively reserved for romantic partners. What are the things we tolerate in romantic relationships that we don't in platonic ones, and why? I like that question.
I mean, I think probably I'm pretty sure was the one who brought it up, but I basically was. It's one of the first questions that I thought of, just because I'm like, I've seen in so many instances where people like have just like, I don't want to call them lower, but they're definitely different standards in platonic and romantic.
Yeah, 1,000%.
A romantic partner can speak to you in a way that you would never allow a friend to speak to you.
A romantic partner can betray you in ways that you would never allow a platonic friend to betray you.
Or if we're getting into like mess, think about like those stories of like people cheating on, you know, other people. Like if it's like a friend or something, like the cut off, then they'll still
the friend gets cut off, but you're still dealing with the guy, you know?
Like, but why? It's like, but you guys are both like they both betrayed you.
Yeah, and I think that comes from like just years of having romantic relationships put on a pedestal for whatever reason, whether it's for whatever reason, those are always put on a pedestal, especially for women, and seen as like a goal to achieve, you know? So maybe that's why that's the only logic that I can think of.
No,
why I accept these things.
All the time, because this one person, like her name is Kimberly, but she runs the For Harriet channel, and she's always talking about how it's like, I think it's her, but she's always kind of talking about how it's like marriage is kind of like the pinnacle of womanhood. It's like the most respectable thing that a lot of women will be able to achieve.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting chosen, getting picked, can be like the most important thing for a lot of women, because we've been conditioned to believe that if you're loved romantically by a man, if you're chosen by a man, that means all of your problems are now gone.
Yep. So, and half the time it only creates more, if we're being honest.
Oh, of course it does.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that's why we tolerate the things that we don't tolerate from friends. But like, what are some other things, like other than like cheating and stuff like that, that you can think of that we tolerate from romantic partners, but not from like just friends? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Just like genuine like kind of respect sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if my friend went 3 days and didn't respond to my texts and was super flaky or whatever, like, and then 8 days later was like, hey, what's up? I'd be like, this friend sucks.
Yeah.
This friend is awful.
Yeah.
you'll have people doing that to romantic partnerships all the time.
I also think that like there's less pressure to, or there should, or let me not say should, but a lot of times there's just less pressure for our friends to perform than it is on a romantic partner to perform in a relationship and to like do certain things and like, you know what I mean? Rather where your friends, a lot of times people just let their friends be.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey. Performance.
Yes.
I think a lot of us are like in a show that we cannot get out of, especially with social media.
Yes, it's a show.
It's literally a show. Like lights, cameras, action.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are so many things that it's like, well, men should do this and women need to do this and that, and like in ways that you have to do this. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you see it on Twitter, but there are so many there's like this top, it's actually kind of like this one, but it's like jewels and whatever. It's cleavage friendly.
Oh yes, I know exactly.
And the post where it's like, would you ever let your girl wear this out? And I'm like, first off, like, who are you?
Yeah, who are
like,
you?
Who are you? Would you ever tell one of your friends to, you know, to change what he's wearing?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that.
You know how much it would take for you to tell your friend, like, first of all, you're not patrolling your friends' outfits the way you are a woman's or your girlfriend's outfits. 1, 2, it's different. You telling me, I think that shirt is so ugly that, like, you know, if my friend came and said, Regina, what are you doing? Like, that shirt is atrocious. But that's not how like a romantic like partner would come to you. They'd be like, oh no, titties, chill out.
It would be like an attack on you, not even a shirt. An attack on like you and your values.
Exactly.
Like the fact that it's like, if I was wearing this shirt, like if you saw me in the bar, you would probably still approach me. So we have all these weird things where it's like, oh, like you have to play this role.
Yeah.
We've all been assigned these roles that we now have to play. Mm-hmm. For whatever weird reason, like we're still like obsessed with playing them.
Yep. And that, yeah, I agree 1,000%. It's a weird role, a performance, like stage. The relationship is the stage, like, you know.
No, it is.
Yeah, for this weird performance of love, quote unquote. Yeah. But is it really even love?
Who knows? Or I think about the fact that these go around all the time too, where it's like a woman will say no to a proposal, and it'll be a really nice proposal, and then you'll have a lot of hurt men in the comments being like, why would she say no? Like, I would never say no. Like, how dare she? When it's like, why are you surprising this woman with marriage? Like, why have y'all never talked about this before? Yep. And why can't she say no?
I don't know.
It's all in our head that we're so obsessed with maintaining, even if we don't think about it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Boom. So last question. Yes. So it says in chapter 12, Bell Hooks claims cynicism is the greatest barrier to love. How do we overcome the impulse to be cynical in our society and within our communities?
Oh, that's so hard. Because, like, cynicism is basically just, like, operating in self-interest, right? So, if that is what we're operating off of, like, there are so many, like, systemic things and reasons why we operate in self-interest that it's just kind of like, I don't know. I guess what you do is you live by that love ethic. You show love, you give love, you are love, and that's how you defeat the cynicism that exists.
Honestly, yeah. I find it really hard not to be cynical sometimes. Like when I'm watching the news, I'm not watching news. You know, like scrolling on Twitter, like whatever, and like you just see all these bad things happening, and like my first instinct is to like shut down and like I don't want to let anyone in because like everything's bad, everything is terrible. But and I think that what kind of makes me like be like less cynical, like not think that way, is that I think about the fact that there are of course good things that do happen, and there are of course, and I think finding your people, because like yes, something awful will happen in the world, but also you'll be able to like laugh on FaceTime with your friends. Like you find like little bits of joy.
I think to stop that, you have to like remember what actually like makes you happy, what do you thrive off of, what can you do for others without expecting something in return, that you'll still get something out of giving. You know what I mean? Yeah. You have to figure out your what's the word I'm looking for? Your route and your path. And I feel like your path is where you defeat that cynicism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like I have to be like at least a little optimistic, because I think of the fact that it's like, if I think back to, I know we're young, but I think back to 5 years ago, I don't think I would be the person that I am now.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't think I'd be the person I am now. I didn't think I would be as happy as I am now, even if it's like not every day. But it's like there are certain things that I have been able to accomplish. I just would not have thought that I would have 5 years ago, 4 years ago, who knows, 2 weeks ago.
Same, yeah.
So I feel like everything does kind of happen for a reason sometimes. And like even like with our book club, like it's the idea that you just saw this book on my story, and the fact that like you reached out and I was like, yes, and we immediately were able to kind of have this rapport.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, I can't be that cynical, because I'm like, look at what just happened.
Yeah, exactly. The positivity, you know. So yeah. All right, great.
We just did our first discussion.
Yay!
But I also was going to introduce our other book for next.
Perfect.
Yes, next month. Next month we're going to be reading, or actually for this month, I guess, in one day in August, we're going to be reading Closure by Cameron Garrett, and it is essentially about a teen who lives with an HIV positive status, and just navigating her life and dating and all of that stuff. And yeah, I'm really excited because it's an adult book written by an adult, and you don't get to see that often. So
perfect. I'm so into it. And we're doing a giveaway for one book.
Yes, we are. We're doing
so pay attention for details about that.
Yes.
All right.
So thank you, Regina.
Thank you, Ofu. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. And yeah.
See you next month. Bye.
Great.